Today we're going to talk about logging your training, and so many climbers will go through multiple seasons of their climbing career without actually recording any data. And the challenging part of that is when you have a great season and you want to replicate what happened, it's really hard to tell what you did to prepare for that. And so many of us train randomly, climb randomly, prepare randomly. Our results also are going to be somewhat random. And so as you advance in your climbing career, we want to get really good at mining data from our training logs. So the first thing you want to do is look back on your training from this previous cycle. If you hadn't been logging, the first thing I'd recommend you do is get a little wall calendar out and write down the days that you climbed, whether it was outside, bouldering with friends, I lifted weights, but as much recollection as you have. And really, if you've got good data on what you did last season, that's where we want to start our training. And so we always tell our athletes to start where you are. You don't want to read a book or look at a program or watch a video of somebody and totally change your preparation. The chances that somebody else's preparation and training is appropriate for you is very, very low. And so what we want to do is look at what you did hour for hour, week for week in the previous seasons or in the previous run up to a good performance. And then we want to start to try to replicate that. We want to look at what days of the week that you trained, how long those sessions were, how intense those sessions were. Most of us are really stuck in a fixed week schedule, and that's okay. And you just take those same hours and days that you trained last period, and we're going to make some small modifications to that. We want to start with our schedule first and then add details. If you have 3 hours available on Wednesdays to train, that's great. Let's mark that on the calendar. Thursdays, you only have 30 minutes. That's awesome. Mark that. You always go climbing on Saturdays. That's great. How many hours do you have? And what are you going to be? Are you going to be outside or are you going to be climbing at the gym? But then we can start to build structure from there. Then what we want to do is go back and mine the details from our training log. How long were my sessions? How intense were those sessions? On a scale of low, medium to high intensity, how many of those sessions were really high intensity? And what was my total duration for the week? I think you should also look at what was the training made up of. Was it lots and lots of time on a fixed board? Was there a lot of fingerboard training? Was there a lot of time outside climbing? What led to the results that you had? When we look at those results, if you're really happy with those results, your new training cycle for the next season should mimic that previous preparation, obviously. If you had a really great season, that was good preparation. If you had a mediocre season, then it's time to go in and look at what you did and make some modifications. One of the ways that I've made my training logs and those logs of my athletes really useful is to build a spreadsheet where we can sort of look at the data. And I like to start really simple. Generally, it should be number of climbing days per week or per month, number of training days per week or per month, and start to add those up. And so you'll have like a January column, a February column, a March column, and we're going to see how many days and hours and all of the numbers that go into your training. It's also useful to look at the number of pitches that you did, the difficulty of those pitches. We can also at this point record any testing data or anything we're trying to keep track of. One of the things I really encourage athletes to take notes on is general strength or general performance measures. If you have an idea how many is your max number of pull-ups, let's just test max pull-ups once a month. If you're concerned about body weight, let's look at your body weight once a month. Is it trending up? Is it trending down? Is it in that zone that feels comfortable for performance? We can track all of that data on a monthly basis and then just move on back to our climbing. When we have that data, then we can start to go back to the training log and record more useful data. And one of the things I'm really keen on is better training logging. If I look back 15 years ago into training logs, I'd have these lists of V grades and maybe some weights that I did, but it'd be like V2, V3, V4, V5. And I had no idea what happened in that session. Did I try hard? Was I feeling fit? None of this information took me back and let me connect to that particular training program or training session. And one of the practices that I've come up with is to write down my feelings about that training session. I was really tired. I pushed myself hard. My shoulder was still sore from the previous workout. But one or two sentences that was a reflection of that program. The other thing is to note things where I was really proud of an effort. If I tried really hard on a hard move of a boulder, or if I set a personal record on a set or a rep in the weight room, or if I just tried something when I didn't feel like quite going, I make a little star by those, and I will look at the number of stars that I get in a workout and then the number of stars I get across a month, and I try to pursue more of those hard, high intensity efforts, things that I'm proud of doing. Even if it's, I'm proud of myself for sitting and stretching for 10 minutes at the end, those things are really important for tying me into my training. Once I have a method for good logging, tracking efforts, tracking numbers, looking at data in my spreadsheet, then I can look at what I need to do next season to go one better from what I did this season. Did I train too hard and get to the point I was cruxing and getting close to injury? Or did I fall short a bunch of times and not really do the sessions I had planned? Did I send all the routes that I was planning on doing, or did it feel like my season was lackluster? Did I feel like I was training too long some days and too short other days? Or did I feel like I was just falling behind on everything? If I look at my actual training log, not the plan that I had, but what I actually executed, it tells a really good story of how my actual movement and exercises and mindset led into my performances. I can look at my plan and go, wow, that plan is really awesome. But most of us have a compliance rate of around 50 to 60% with our planned training. And so if I look at what I actually did, it gives me really good information moving forward. Like I said at the beginning, your training that you did the last time that you were really successful out there is probably the closest to appropriate training that you have a place to start with. If we take that stuff, rewrite it, make some adjustments, make some small habit changes, and move into the next season, that's going to probably be the best training plan you can come up with for yourself, no matter what you see in a blog or a book or on a video. The main thing is understanding how you respond to training and what your mindset is when you're in the gym, and then trying to go one better from that point.